Hey guys, this video will be about washing your dreadlocks, for those of you who do. Just so you know, most of my videos, obviously I don't have African hair, so they're for more Caucasian hair, straight hair, curly hair, just hair that isn't like from African Americans. I'm not racist at all, but I mean there might be that few people who watch this and just pull a race card, but just know, I'm not racist. So, anyway, washing your hair, your dreads, you should do it, because it's very important. Why? Because it helps them lock. How often should you wash your dreads? I wash mine every 3 days. Some people do it a week. I've always done it a week until the past couple months, but it's so important. It does so much that you don't think about until you've had them forever. Some people don't even realize it, but you always hear you need to wash your dreads. It helps them tighten, helps them lock up, but you don't really understand how. It's intimidating, so you put off washing your hair for days, weeks, months, whatever, and then you have all this crazy loose hair from the roots and loose hair from the dreads, and then you find ways to force in those loose hairs because what should have happened from washing, you're forcing itself to do. Clean hair, dreads the best, all this stuff. But how does it help a dread? Let me explain that in the best way that I can. If you can imagine, like when you braid, say your hair's wet, you braid it, put a rubber band around it, normal hair. Your hair's wet, like as a non-dreaded hair. It gets wet, you braid it, you put a rubber band on the end, and then once it's dry, you take it out, it stays that way. So if you can imagine your hair in between washes, okay, so you wash your hair, and then for the next couple days your hair moves around, hair that wasn't locked in, that was sticking straight out of the dread, if you can imagine this being the dread, and the hair sticking out like straight hairs, they find their way almost into it, and but they're still kind of resistant. Then once you wash your hair, you're getting your hair wet and cleaning it. So the hair that locked in between the time of your last wash and this wash is going to be will be somewhat resistant to locking in, but once you wash it and you get it wet or whatever, it will set in place, just like I was talking about with the dread or with the braid, when people braid their hair or whatever. So the hairs that stick out, they get in there somehow just from moving, or you palm roll, crochet, or do the loose hair tool from Dreadhead. And then once your hair gets wet, those hairs set and they stay and they rest in that place because they're not resistant anymore. So there's that. Next point on my notes would be washing your hair helps all your baby hairs, the new growth. How does it help that? I'll explain that. So your hair, your head, your scalp will get greasy or oily or whatever, just because that's your body's way of naturally nourishing your hair, keeping it natural conditioning your hair, and your scalp will adjust. My hair would get oily. I would have to take a shower in the morning, because if I took one at night, by the time I woke up, my hair was super oily. But if you just get in a good habit of washing your hair every 3 days, your scalp will adjust. It's not like you're born with this natural your scalp gets oily in 15 hours or 18 hours or whatever. Your hair or your scalp will adjust and produce oil according to how you treat it. So if you start getting in the habit of washing it every 3 days or a week, it will stop getting oily so fast and spread out that time. So oil is good for your hair, but it hinders the dreading process. So the way it helps baby hairs is that if you can imagine hairs being, like if you were to dread your hair when it's this long, it would be super difficult because they're so short, it's easy to slip out. So if you can imagine the new growth, you lose 50 to 100 hairs daily. So that's what all these little baby hairs are. So when your hair falls out, which is not a bad thing, it's going to happen. Breakage is a different thing. So when the hair falls out, it starts to grow back, and you have these little baby hairs. You probably can't see from there, but little baby hairs, when they're short, it's hard for them to dread in. So if you can imagine them being extremely oily from you not washing your hair or going too long without it, how much more difficult would it be for a small little hair to dread or lock into a dread? You know, if that makes sense. So washing and keeping the hair clean helps it to be able to dread in easier, not be super coated in oil, and it won't be able to dread in that way. And then so if you go this long period of time, you're going to have all this stray baby hair, and then it eventually grows out. And sorry. But as it grows out, if it's clean, it can lock in way easier. Of course, you're going to have some that don't lock in from time to time that are stubborn, but that's where clockwise rubbing comes in, because as you lightly push, I grab right where the dread stops becoming a dread. I grab where it's actually a dread, and I just lightly push down and just go in circles. So if you can imagine this being the dread and this being the straight hair that connects into your scalp, it kind of pushes it down and rubs it in circles. Just like if you were to have straight hair and just do this, it knots all that up. If you were to do it for like even 10 seconds, it makes a huge clump of hair that sticks out. And that's the kind of the way that it works with clockwise rubbing. It catches those baby hairs. It's rather than them trying to just, from the wind pushing them or natural movement trying to lock in, clockwise rubbing helps to pull those in. But don't push down hard, because that will definitely cause breakage. Even if you have the strongest hair, I have pretty strong hair, and it still can cause breakage pretty easy, especially if you're freaking out. You have the habits of doing it all the time. Usually people have habits of doing that all the time in the first year of their dreads because they just want them to look so good. But so let me stop rambling about that and go to the next point. Well, I don't have any more points, so I guess that's it, but look how long this video is. 5 minutes. That's long enough, I guess. If I left anything out, dude, if you have any questions on anything, just post a comment below and I won't add to this video, but maybe I'll make another one about washing. But it's just important to know that a lot of people don't understand how it actually helps tighten your dreads and go along the process. Oh, this is something. Once you wash them, I just get a towel that doesn't have a bunch of frizzy stuff on it, and I just push up against my hair. They tell you not to use any cotton towels because stuff can get into your dreads. I haven't had any issues with that, but I'm not against it. I just haven't had the time to get that towel yet, a good, better towel. So I just push it, get all the water out. I kind of like shake my head, get some water out, but that kind of hurts if it slaps you in the face. And then I get like blow dryer. Sorry, I just blinked out. And I won't tell you what I do with that because I'll put that in a different video with dread tips and help, tips and tricks. So anyway, I blow dry it with this thing on it, and then I just palm roll them until they're dry, because if you can, sometimes they'll feel dry, but they'll be totally wet on the core, and that's what causes mold. So if you're like, oh, my dreads are dry, and you go out in the public or you go to sleep on your wet dreads, usually you can feel it, but if you can't and it's wet in there, that's what causes mold. So you want to get all the moisture out. I just palm roll them. Plus that helps to shape them, like the ones that maybe grow out flat or are flat at the root because you wear a headband and it presses down on them. It's really good to have the to just palm roll them after it helps to dry them and it helps to shape them and everything. It really works really well, and it helps you get all the water out, and you can feel it if there's any in there, and it pushes it out like a sponge, especially if you have blown tips, because blown tips will trap water, all that stuff. So this video is long enough, so if you have any more questions, just leave comments below or do whatever you need to do to ask the question, video response with the questions, whatever. Hope you guys have a good day.